changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your daily dose of Chicken Soup for the Soul inspiration. It's Tip Tuesday, and I want to share a story with you from the very first Chicken Soup for the Soul book, which was called Chicken Soup for the Soul, of course. It's about a very easy way to improve a marriage, or any relationship for that matter, and the story is called A Story for Valentine's Day, and it actually first appeared in a newspaper called the Deseret News. So we start off learning about the marriage of an ordinary couple, Larry and Joanne Larson. They lived in an ordinary house on an ordinary street. Like any other ordinary couple, they sometimes struggled to make ends meet and to do the right things for their children. And they were ordinary in another way, too. Sometimes they argued. And in the case of Larry and Joanne, what they argued about was what was wrong in their marriage and who was to blame. And then one day, everything changed. Larry said, "You know, Joanne, I've got a magic chest of drawers. Every time I open them, they're full of socks and underwear. I want to thank you for filling them all these years." Joanne stared at her husband. "What do you want, Larry?" Larry replied, "Nothing. I just want you to know I appreciate those magic drawers." Then a few days later, Larry said, "Joanne, thank you for recording so many correct check numbers in the checkbook this month. You put down the right numbers 15 out of 16 times. That's a record." Joanne looked up at him skeptically and said, "Larry, you're always complaining about my recording the wrong check numbers. Why stop now?" "No reason," he said. "I just wanted you to know I appreciate the effort you're making." Joanne shook her head and went back to what she was doing. But she did notice that the next time she wrote a check, she double-checked the number on it. Then Larry started to compliment her cooking and pointed out that in the past 15 years, she had probably prepared more than 14,000 meals for him and the kids. And then he complimented her on how she maintained the house, too. Then their 16-year-old daughter complained that Dad had obviously gone crazy because he was complimenting her, too, even when she was wearing too much makeup and clothes that she knew he didn't like. Whatever was wrong with him, Larry kept doing it, confusing his wife and children. Day in and day out, he continued focusing on the positive. Eventually, Joanne grew more comfortable with Larry's compliments, and she started saying thank you back to him instead of looking at him like he had lost his mind. And then Larry upped his game, and he started helping out, too, insisting on doing the dishes one night. Joanne was starting to feel pretty good. She had more self-confidence, she was lighter on her feet, and she was even humming sometimes. And this time it was she who turned around and did something different. "Larry," she said, "I want to thank you for going to work and providing for us all these years. I don't think I've ever told you how much I appreciate it." Well, the writer Cynthia Ozick said, "We often take for granted the very things that most deserve our gratitude. And it's acknowledging those everyday things, those ordinary things, that can turn an everyday marriage or an everyday relationship of any kind into a wonderful and extraordinary one." I'm Amy Newmark. Thanks for listening today. Tell your friends and family about the podcast and teach them how to get a podcast on their phones or on their computers. I've taught so many people that there is a purple podcast icon right on the home screen of their iPhones, for example. Come back tomorrow for Wow Wednesday, when we'll talk about a mom who had a dream that alerted her to what she needed to do to change her life. And if you want more powerful stories about life, marriage, and relationships, please visit our website, chickensoup.com.